It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Air Force Assistant Wrestling Coach Chris Heilman. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to start your coaching career?
Yeah, so just growing up, my mom was a teacher, and I just had some great teachers and coaches growing up through middle school and high school. And I knew that I loved wrestling and just wanted to stay in the sport and give back to it a lot that it gave to me. And so definitely into high school and then into college, I knew I wanted to coach in some capacity. I did years, and it was great. I had a great experience, but I kind of missed the college grind and a lot of the aspects of college athletics. So I left high school and went into college and haven't looked back since, and really enjoyed the experience so far.
Can you talk about, of course, what it was like coaching at St. Cloud State?
Yeah. So after I graduated college, St. Cloud State was my first coaching job, and it was a pretty unique situation in that it was a grad assistantship. And so not only was I coaching, but I was also going to grad school at the same time for my master's degree. And for any young coach that's out there looking for jobs, I highly recommend that path. It was great for me just to continue with school as well. St. Cloud State was a great program. It still is. It's one of the best programs in Division II right now. Multiple time national champions, and they've just done a great job. And it's a program that people should definitely be talking about a little more. But I was really lucky to get that job. I called the coach. It was late into my senior year. I didn't really have any plans at that time, and so I saw the job listing, and I called the head coach, and he said, "Well, definitely interested, but." I just offered the job to somebody else, and I'll let you know if he doesn't take it. And luckily, a couple days later, he called me back, said that guy didn't take the job, so I jumped on it right away. And again, super fortunate to get that job because I got to work with a great guy in Steve Costanzo, who ended up being a multiple-time Coach of the Year at the NCAA level, and just a guy I learned a ton from. Just one of the hardest working coaches I've ever been around. One of the hardest working guys I've been around. He's a guy that would come in on his off days, work on Sundays. He'd be the first guy in the office, last guy to leave. So he just really taught me a lot about just pure work ethic. And just to see that, I was only there for 2 years. I think my first year we took eighth in the country. My second year we took seventh. And then the team just went on a string of, national champions, national champs, national champs. So I kind of got to see the building blocks of that, of their dynasty. And it really stemmed from, Coach Costanzo's hard work. And, so that was a huge foundation for my coaching career is, hey, if you want to be successful, this is what it takes. It's just going to take more work and doing it wisely too, right? Having a plan, but just be willing to do more than the other guy. And so I really appreciate what Coach Costanzo taught me during those 2 years. And he gave me a lot of experience too. He gave me a lot of responsibilities for a new coach, which I really appreciate as well. I got to dabble in recruiting, fundraising, running practices. It was all around just an eye-opening experience for me at St. Cloud State. And I'm definitely not surprised at the success they've had over the last few years.
What was your time like coaching with Wisconsin Whitewater?
Yeah, for sure. So after St. Cloud State, graduated from there with a master's degree, and just needed, it was a 2-year program. So had to look for another job. So I actually went from St. Cloud State to Davenport, Iowa, where I was a head high school coach for 2 years and a PE teacher, and love that experience as well. I wouldn't be the person I am without that experience. It was um, just a diverse group of students there, high income, low income, and it was just a blast coaching those guys. Um, but I knew I wanted to get back into college wrestling after 2 years in high school. Like I said, I just missed that college grind. I missed the recruiting aspect, the travel, and so I missed all that. So I applied for a job at Wisconsin Whitewater, which is a Division III program in southern Wisconsin, about 30 minutes out of Madison, and was lucky enough to get that job as well. Tim Fader was the coach there at the time, and he another super successful coach. So he's a multiple-time NCAA Coach of the Year, has coached some of the best teams in Division III over the last 20 years, and but very different from Coach Costanzo in that Tim was really great, just outside of the box thinker. We would be doing things that you'd be like, what are we doing, coach? Why are we doing this? And then, a week later, 2 weeks later, even months later, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. That's why we were doing that. So he would just do some really cool things. So for example, every summer he'd bring a group of guys out here to Colorado from Wisconsin, and they'd climb mountains and train with other teams and, go rafting. And it was give those guys experiences that they normally wouldn't have in other college programs. We did a ton of different community service projects, do different team retreats. He's just the master of really building that team cohesion. And so that's a lot of what I learned from Coach Fader, in that just that don't be afraid to think outside of the box in your coaching. It's not always about the X's and O's. A lot of it is, building your team and, building it for long-term success, not just short-term success. But Wisconsin Whitewater, they were really good already. I think they were a top 10 program when I got there. And so I just, was able to come in and my first year, I think we were third, and then the next year we were second. And so we were really knocking on the door for a national title, and in that division, not a lot of teams have won a national title. Not a lot of different teams have won a national title. So we were really knocking on the door, and we had a great team, team that was really close. It's been pretty rare to see a team that supported each other that much on the sideline, and those guys would just get super fired up for each other after wins and be super supportive after losses. And I think that was a part of Coach Fader's plan is just to build that family atmosphere through this different experiences, experience that other coaches or other programs aren't offering their guys. So, but I loved it there. It's a small town. I was there for 2 years, and but still keep in touch with a lot of those guys that were on that team, and I consider Coach Fader a really good friend as well. So had a great experience there. Loved it at Wisconsin Whitewater, and it was a heck, wouldn't trade that experience for anything.
What was it like for you to go from D2 to D3 of a civilian school to now going to a full Army school, like military school, to Air Force?
It was, the Air Force Academy is just a different beast all on its own. So, not just athletics that we have to focus on, but academics as well. And then leadership too. And that's how we describe the military aspect here is leadership. So our guys are here and they're learning how to become the best leaders they can when they start their service in the Air Force after graduation. So it was definitely, when I first got here, it was just an eye-opening experience, and that I knew very little. It was crazy how little I knew about what the military did before I got here. You watch CNN, you watch the news, you watch movies, Saving Private Ryan, and you think you have an idea of what the media shows you of what the military is, and then you find out what it really is, and it's pretty vast of what our Air Force does, and the impact that we have, both domestically and globally. And so that was probably the biggest eye opener when I first got here. It's like, wow, I had no idea. I had no idea what the Air Force does, or what an officer is versus enlisted, what kind of opportunities are out there for our military officers, and not just you're really taking care of. The quality of life in the Air Force is great, but just the life experience of those guys is pretty amazing. They get to do things that a lot of their peers just won't get to do. So that was that was point of view. We're a fully fledged Division I program. We're traveling to all the top tournaments. We're in the Big 12 conference, so we're wrestling against the best teams in the country, and it's competitive. So that, I think that as well was, we have to train at a very high level. We have to recruit at a very high level, and we just have to do things the right way. And so, Coach Barber, who's the head coach, really gives us a good path, gives us a good vision of what we need to do and what that looks like. And so when I first got here, it's like, wow, this is big. It's a lot bigger than I thought.
What is it like competing in the Big 12 with teams like Penn State?
Well, Penn State's, they're in the Big 10, but in terms of some of the top Big 12 teams, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Iowa State, it's challenging. It's challenging for sure, in that we've had to really up our game in a lot of areas. So, like I said, recruiting, even fundraising. Wrestling's changed. I think the landscape of wrestling has changed quite a bit over the last couple decades, with the emergence of regional training centers and different training opportunities that we have to provide our guys just to stay on that Big 12 level. And so I think Coach Barber has done a great job of being able to provide, quality training partners. We have a great relationship with USA Wrestling right now, which is housed here in Colorado Springs. So those guys can come up from the Olympic Training Center and train with us, and then we can go train with them. So we've had multiple world champs in our room to train with our guys. We've had world championship coaches. And then I think, our just level of competitiveness within our team is pretty amazing too. Looking at our roster, we have some really, really talented guys. And that's what we've had to do. We've had to recruit those guys and develop them to stay on par with what the Big 12 is doing.
What was it like in 2019 and 2020, that season?
2019, 2020. So that was definitely a growing year for us. We had, I think, 7 to 8 new starters in the lineup, and we saw it. It was definitely one of those years that I think we took some lumps that year. But we grew in a lot of ways too. So we had some guys that got some really much needed varsity experience in the Big 12. And, I think that showed in our next season. So last year we had one of our most successful seasons in recent memory, with 3 national qualifiers. One, Wyatt Hendrickson made it to the round of 12. Jared Van Vliet made it to the round of 16. And both of those guys are returning. And then we had a total 8 to 9 guys in and out of the national rankings all year, which is, I think, the most we've ever had. So I think that 1920 season, we had to go through that to get that experience to set us up for future success in 2021. And then this year, we're up and down our lineup. We should have a really strong team.
What are some of your accomplishments on the coaching side for Air Force?
So some of my personal accomplishments, I think, I'm the recruiting coordinator here, and we're in a lot of different events. So I guess off the mat, I'm pretty proud of our recruiting, and that we've had, I think, 6 of 7 years or so, I've been ranked in the top 30, or some sort of national ranking for recruiting classes. Um, so again, pretty proud of that stat. Um, in terms of other things that I have ownership on, or I do have run some fundraising events that I've done pretty well. Again, fundraising has become a huge part of college athletics, whether you like it or not. And so pretty proud of the way that our fundraising has grown. I think I've helped with in that area. Um, our home events, I think, have become better, getting more and more butts in the seats to watch our guys, and making it a great fan experience at our home duels. On the mat, I've done the best I could to help develop our wrestlers. I work a lot with our lightweights, and wrestle with them, not quite daily, getting older, but on the mat with them quite a bit. And then just trying to mentor, our other guys as well. So, like I said, I think that our team has gotten a lot better. And I don't have the numbers in front of me or stats, but just from what I've seen, from what I've gotten here, from when I got here to now, I just know that our program as a whole has just has elevated itself into a whole new level. And I got to thank Coach Barber for that too, in terms of trusting me with, recruiting and some of these events, and then wrestling with our guys too. So, I've been pretty fortunate. I've been really fortunate to work with some great coaches, Coach Costanzo, Coach Fader, and Coach Barber, who himself is an NCAA Coach of the Year as well. I've learned a ton from him in terms of just total program, not just coaching a team, but building a total program. I think is what I've learned most from him in terms of, team development, recruiting, fundraising, alumni relations, administration relations. It just, for him, it's a whole world, right? And so I've learned a lot in that aspect.
What is a typical game day match like for you?
Game day match. So wrestling's a little different from other sports. We have to weigh in either an hour or 2 hours, depending on the event, prior to competing. And it's even more different at the Air Force Academy, with if we're at home, our guys are going to class that day. So if we have a 7 p.m. duel, then our guys will go to class in the morning, and whatever military duties they may have, they'll take care of that too. And then they'll come down and do some weight management. If they're overweight, they'll have to come down and run or work out with a coach or with a partner to get some of that weight off. We'll weigh in at 6 p.m. on those days. So we'll actually do our pre-match warm-up around 5 p.m. And so that will allow them to get their bodies ready, to work on any technique that they need to work on, to get their heart rate up, and then to get whatever weight they need to get off for that weigh-in. So that'll take about half an hour. Then guys will weigh in at 6. They'll eat and drink whatever they can to feel good for that 7 p.m. duel. And then we'll compete at 7 p.m. So it's definitely very different from, basketball and football and other sports where they don't have to worry about some of those things.
Can you talk about, of course, what a typical game day is like and what recruitment is like on the wrestling side?
So recruiting on the wrestling side is, again, it's very different a at a service academy. So athletics will certainly, your athletic credentials will certainly get your foot in the door. I think your academics will keep your foot in the door, and then a combination of athletics, academics, and character will get you that offer. So we at service academies, we offer full rides here. Everybody here is on a 100% scholarship, plus you get a paycheck here as well. That recruitment process to earn that full ride scholarship is pretty long. So yeah, you have to prove that athletically, you can compete in the Big 12 conference at a very high level. Academically, you have to prove that you can, handle the rigors of a service academy, um, full schedule. So everybody graduates here with a Bachelor of Science degree and 130 plus credit hours, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So you have to show that you can handle those things, be able to balance athletics and academics. And then, of course, the character side. We want guys with um, high integrity and with service on their hearts, that they want to go and be a leader in the Air Force after they graduate. And so we're looking for all three of those things. And if you have all three of those things, then you're going to do very well here at the Air Force Academy. If you're lacking in one of those areas, it's going to be pretty tough. So, but that's what we're looking for in recruiting. The application's pretty long. That's what we do, is we help guide you through the application and get here successfully.
What is obviously the recruitment process like when it comes to official visits? And as you are the recruitment coordinator, what is that like seeing those cadets come in for their official visits?
So an official visit, we want to make sure that we arm our recruits with as much information as possible, because again, we're different. We're going to be unique from many other schools that they're looking at. And so we want to make sure that we show them, all the opportunities that you can have that other schools can't offer. So we have some different programs in the summer that really like to throw at guys. So we have, powered flight. We have jump school where you're jumping out of planes, soaring where you're flying in a glider. We have different survival programs. We have leadership programs in the summer. So we'd like to, make sure that our recruits understand those opportunities. We sit recruits down with an academic advisor, so they really understand what academics look like, what different majors we have, what careers those majors can lead to. And we'll make sure that our recruits go to class, meet some professors, kind of go through that structure of a service academy. And, then we'll make sure that they get to spend a lot of time with coaches and the wrestlers. Hey, do I get along with these guys? Will these guys be good mentors for me? Because I think one great part of the service academy is you're going to surround yourself with the best people. And we want parents and our recruits to get to know those people before they get here. So we pack a lot into our official visits, and we do that purposefully because we can offer a lot.
What advice would you give high school athletes looking to go into college wrestling?
Oh, I would say, look for, don't say no. I would say look for the best opportunities possible. When you're making that decision, and it's a big decision, it should be a decision that will set you up for the next 40 years, not just the next 4 years, right? So ask a lot of questions of the coaches, understand the academics, understand, what happens after you graduate. Because, once sports are done, once you graduate from college, now you're in the real world. And did those 4 years set you up for success? And you want to choose a place that does that. And I think, obviously, I'm biased towards service academies. When you graduate from a service academy, you graduate with a guaranteed job, with great pay and great benefits, and at least a minimum of a 5-year contract. And so it really sets you up for success, really for the rest of your life. And I think for high school athletes, for anybody in high school looking, if they're going to go on to the next level, they should really ask the question, hey, what happens afterwards? What happens when I'm done competing? What happens when I'm done going to school? What does my life look like?
What advice would you give coaches that are looking to get into college coaching?
My best advice would be to put your yes on the table. So that's a quote from Heath Esslinger, who works with our team, who is a former coach at Chattanooga. But I think as a young coach that's looking to break into college athletics, is be willing to do any job that you're asked to do. You may not like that job, but do it anyways, and do it to the best of your ability. And then as you're doing those jobs, try to identify your strengths and what you're really good at in coaching. And through that, leverage those strengths and find the best position that you can that will take care of you and your family. But for sure, for young coaches that are just starting out, I think, hey, if you're willing to put in the hours and be willing to do the jobs that maybe other people don't want to do, and you can do a great job, a high quality job, then you're going to do well and you're going to move up.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media, along with the Air Force Academy's wrestling program at?
So our Air Force wrestling program, we have a Twitter, AF_wrestle. Instagram is the same handle, AF_wrestle. And then we have a Facebook, Air Force Wrestling. If they just search for Air Force Wrestling, they'll find it on Facebook. We don't have a TikTok. We don't have a Snapchat yet. We'll work on that. But Twitter, Instagram, Facebook right now. For me, I'm not a huge social media guy, but I do have a Twitter. So it's, what is it? Chris, CHRIS, Heilman, HEILMAN_AF.
Thank you again, Coach Chris Heilman, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Air Force Academy as the assistant wrestling coach.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Appreciate your time.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Chris, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.